Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 61 for December 1st, 2021. I am Nemesis and I am joined by Alcatraz.
Hello.
Yeah, let's see, man, year's almost over already.
Yeah.
1 month left, essentially. Let's see, anime stuff. Yeah, well, the big one right now is the Cowboy Bebop live action thing came out on Netflix, and apparently it's a bit of a dumpster fire. Who could have predicted this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of the clips. There's a part of me that's kind of the I want to see if it really is that bad, but the other part of me is like, you're probably better off not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, oh boy, and it's like casual reminder that Netflix has the rights to make a live action One Piece. Yeah, beyond that, let's see. Still kind of keeping up. I'm personally still somewhat keeping up with the stuff we did for the fall season.
I've been otherwise preoccupied.
I kind of fell behind some of them. But at least 3 of them I'll watch more episodes of. Well, I guess that's stuff for anime.
Yep.
But yeah, we're talking about actually unusual anime. Halo Legends.
Yes.
Yeah. Unusual because it's a Western property, FPS property from Xbox and Microsoft and all that, and it's anime now? Yeah, speaking of Halo, though, it's kind of almost a miracle that the last episode actually came out, but considering the Halo Infinite multiplayer beta dropped while I was in the middle of editing, and it's like...
You're able to actually finish it instead of just playing.
Yeah, exactly.
Infinite.
It's a miracle it came out. Otherwise, it might have just been, oh, what? Podcast, what? Oh, that thing. Probably should do that, I'd say, a week later. Yeah. Halo Legends. It came out in 2010. Yeah, so it's actually it's actually going 11 years old now, coming up on 12 because it came out in February of 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one of those it's a weird thing of like, hey, why don't we take this Halo thing we got and give it to a bunch of Japanese animation studios and let them do a thing with it. But I remember the announcement. Everyone went, why? What? It does kind of seem like a weird idea.
It does seem kind of like a weird idea.
Because Halo is very American.
It is.
And FPS and everything. There's not really a huge Japanese audience for Halo. Yeah, sure. My understanding is the Japanese Halo fans are really passionate, but there's not a lot of them. So it's kind of like, this is an interesting idea, and it's also kind of clearly cribbed from the Animatrix thing. It's like it very clearly was inspired by that sort of thing. And now we got Star Wars Visions, which is also very much an anthology of shorts.
It's a basic same thing. They said, here's a story, give it to a bunch of studios, and let them do their thing with it.
So the whole idea was they were allowed, basically gave it to different studios, the property, and they gave them access to a whole bunch of stuff and let them tell stories that are canon to the Halo universe.
Sort of.
Except for one.
There's that one, yeah.
Except for one, they're all canon to the Halo universe, and yet, but even though there is some degree of artistic license, as they had to kind of defend with, because there's some, the Halo nerds were very upset about certain liberties taken.
Yes.
And they kind of said, it's creative license, it's artistic license, just shut up, nerds.
Just roll. Shut up, nerd.
I'm pretty sure almost reminds me Frankie actually did say, shut up, nerds.
Shut up, nerds.
Yeah, so it's an anthology of, technically 8 shorts, but one of them is a 2-parter, so it's 7 different stories. And yeah, this is going to be kind of an interesting thing for us because we haven't really done an anthology thing like this before, so I want to see how it works when we're talking about 7 different things somewhat. But yeah, there are 7 of them, all done by different studios, and I guess they're going to just go in order that they're in on the thing. It's about 2 hours worth of stuff. Because overall, I want to say before we get into the debate, overall, it's kind of worth checking out, but there is definitely a bumpiness kind of inherent of being an anthology.
Yeah. To elaborate on that bumpiness, I'll give some are probably easier to watch than others.
Yeah.
Because they are very different between each other, because the different studios, so you get the whole, some are just campy as heck, and other ones are probably a lot more straight. So different strokes for different folks and stuff like that.
So yeah, we're going to go ahead and go in order, like I said, in order. So the first short, or I guess, is Origins. which is a two-parter. This is the two-parter. It's done by Studio 4C. And it's mostly Cortana, more or less essentially it's just kind of backstory stuff.
It's a lore dump.
Yeah, it's basically a lore dump for people who might be new to Halo, I guess, which is kind of an interesting thing to do if you're while you're watching this. Yeah. It's one of those things, they assume that someone might not be familiar with Halo wants to watch this, even though it's like, okay, sure. Theoretically, it could happen, but...
Yeah, it does give a bit more in-depth detail on the lore that the games might not have exactly been explicit about, so it is helpful in that, right, even if you are somewhat familiar with the Halo universe.
I'm just looking at what Studio 4C has done. They were involved in the Animatrix. Surprise, surprise. But apparently Transformers animated.
Interesting.
Something I wasn't expecting. A couple music videos and shorts. And see, I'm just looking. Oh, Justice League. Some Justice League thing.
They did another one of the shorts here on the anthology, too.
Yeah, they also did a different one.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah, the origin is basically just lots of deep lore stuff for Halo, like about the Forerunners and the Flood, and just kind of some I guess waxing philosophical a little bit by Cortana, because she's kind of in the first initial stages of rampancy while Master Chief is frozen in the cryo tube from the end of Halo 3.
Yep.
And that's essentially what it is. It's kind of bring you back in and kind of bring you up to speed for the rest of the anthology, I guess. Just making you aware that the Flood exists and all that stuff. So it's just kind of just more or less, in a way, even if you're like somewhat familiar with Halo, it puts it all familiar in a very succinct package.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's got some decent animation. There's a couple things I noticed. Like one point, I think I saw a Forerunner sliding rather than walking.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But
I do really like their animation style.
Mm-hmm.
The look and feel of it all.
Particularly the Flood. I think they did a really good job with the Flood. I think it was really grotesque and
the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, so they did a really good job and whatnot in making the Flood look the gross otherworldly thing.
Yep.
And so on that front, yeah, it's a pretty interesting one somewhat, but I think it's kind of in a way kind of not.
It's the driest.
Yeah, in a sense, it's not the most interesting per se. But it's also not bad. It's just very basic. Just that ease you into this stuff.
Yeah, it's a dry lore dump.
So it works on that front, but there is a couple things which definitely hint towards some stuff here and there for later in, I guess, the Halo lore that some of it has some of it's paid off. Like there's some implication that some of the stuff Cortana talks about might be what led to Halo 5, for better or for worse.
For better or worse.
Considering if you don't know, Halo 5 is not well regarded for its story.
Neither is 4.
4 is for different 4 reasons, is actually a mixed bag nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of people will at least admire its attempts or even outright say Halo 4 is the best story, but whatever.
I wouldn't say it's the best story, but I think you and I have discussed my feelings on 4 and my mixed bag reaction.
So it's kind of in a sense, it's kind of the plainest.
Yeah.
Of the anthology, because I think particularly since a lot of Halo fans, let's be real, some Halo fans probably never really consumed anime before this.
Right.
So for that, it eases them in with the very basic things before they go a little wild with the next one, which is the Duel.
The Duel
by Production IG, which they kind of really, this one very much stands out much stands out visually, just because it's very kind of almost a watercolor type thing.
Animated watercolor,
and very blurry intentionally, and very stylized and stuff. Very stylized. It's about an arbiter, because there's a whole thing with Halo. The arbiters are these basically elites that are, at one point they were like very highly regarded, and now they're kind of, it's become a symbol of shame.
Sort of,
a mark of shame.
Yeah, this one was Fal Chavami, I believe is the name. Anyway,
this is the whole thing. He's kind of defying the Covenant in a sense, and this whole other big wig elite is kind of against him, and
Yep.
And he has to go fight him in part because the elite tries to force him because he kills his wife and all this stuff.
Yep.
Fun times.
All because the Arbiter doesn't want to conform to the Covenant.
Yeah. And so it's a whole thing where it's basically it's about honor, which actually lines up with the Sangheili / elites,
Yep.
It lines up with their general culture from other parts of the Halo lore. The honor is kind of a big thing, so I think it's one of those things that might resonate with a lot of Japanese people in a sense like that, because culturally there's a whole thing with honor and stuff in Japan going way back.
Yeah, and they really dove into the imagery on it too.
Yeah, it's like a lot of like the opposing elite is very much looks like a samurai.
Yep.
Very much so. It's like, Although they also try to waifu the elite wife, which is interesting decision to say the least. And that was one of the things I remember Halo fans were calling out, and they just kind of shrugged and said, artistic license.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also looking at what this animation studio's done. Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. Not surprising.
Production IG.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a big one.
Blood Plus. I remember that. I watched most of that when I was a teenager.
They have stuff on Visions as well.
Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
It's production.
You might have heard
IG.
about that one. Fooly Cooly.
Standalone complex. Was good.
Progressive and alternative.
Yep.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. Let's see if there's anything else. Haikyuu. I know that one.
It's production IG. They're a big name.
They've been around and they've done a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things I recognize here.
Yeah, like looking at the production, there's only 2 that I immediately recognized. This was one of them.
Oh, Pat Labor. Oh man. But more Ghost in the Shell. More Ghost in the Shell. Appleseed. Psychopaths, the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, Fate Grand Order. How many people are involved with Fate? Jeez. But anyway, so that's the thing. I think this one is like, it's a very, very basic kind of tale of, honor and revenge and all that stuff. And, and of course, the good old, both elites eventually square off against each other. And of course, they both die, including a full-blown just geyser of blood thing. And it's kind of a very standard story. But visually, again, looks great.
Yeah, the story is fairly basic, but I think its execution is really well done. So it was enjoyable to watch in that way.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals, though, it's definitely going to be hit or miss on whether you like it or not. For me personally, I like the style, but it messed with my eyes because my vision is not super great, and it has that blurry look, so it's constantly like, is this just my eyes freaking out, or is this the way it's supposed to look? Yeah. And it kept messing with me that way, but otherwise, it was pretty enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. The other thing about it was, I did something like the big old fight scene with the Arbiter facing against an entire army of Covenant, including massive hunters and everything.
Massive hunters. God, I would have loved that in the actual game.
But it's a whole thing there. And it was, again, visually interesting, kind of basic, but it works, overall. But I think for me personally, it's kind of on the lower end of the whole anthology. Because the biggest, most impressive thing about it is the actual art style, I'd feel. Yeah, moving on to the next one, which is Homecoming. Which is an interesting one. It's about one particular Spartan, namely Daisy 023. And she's, fighting with some Marines and stuff, and it's basically the planet they're on is pretty much screwed. The Covenant have pretty much wiped it out at this point. They're just trying to survive long enough to get out. And they're trying to have to get to an LZ and all that stuff. And as we go through the story, we're also seeing her flashback to when she was younger in the Spartan 2 program, which was a child soldier program, which has been kind of addressed a couple times by Halo, but intermittently, shall we say?
The whole origins of the Spartans is definitely a point of discussion.
Yes, point of discussion. But anyway, they were abducted as kids, like 5 years old, and then turned into genetically augmented super soldiers. Genetically and cybernetically. Yep. And one point, several of them went, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to leave, and we're going home. And she goes home, and she sees, herself in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And all that stuff. And it's one of those things, we can't have a whole bunch of kids just go missing, so we replaced you with clones.
Yep.
Yay! Clones who are imperfect and prone to dying.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is a weird thing there. It's just kind of her, literally, and on top of that, the LZ in the modern, the present tense is actually turns out to be her childhood home and everything. So it's kind of a literal homecoming in that sense too. And she's even going to kill her clone at one point.
Yep,
she's all ready to do it, but she couldn't. And yeah. That also the clone gave her a little plush teddy bear keychain thing, and yeah. But eventually, Daisy also dies, and pretty much all the Marines die. It's just one of those things. Everybody dies. And we also see a scene where, the clone dies as well from whatever genetic failures were introduced for the cloning process. and so on and so forth. This one is kind of interesting in many ways. It's because it's hard for me talking about it. I don't think really does it justice.
No,
because this is a very poignant one.
Yeah, it's one you gotta. There's so much to it that's in the visual execution.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
The you can't just say the story. The way it's presented is so important on here. Mm-hmm. You really got to just watch it to really get the same emotional impact.
I really think this is one of the better ones.
It is definitely.
And I really enjoy it. It's one of those weird ones because I remember way back in the day, a lot of people were like, I don't get it. Bros.
Yeah.
That's
my media literacy is at it. Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's really well done, and it's hard to talk about, but it's just kind of visually really well done, and just a lot of really nice things, including the little end scene with, the other Spartans showing up, and I think it's supposed to be Master Chief. Weirdly enough, and it's that sees the teddy bear, and kind of does a little ceremonial thing, I guess, putting the teddy bear in her hands.
Yep, putting her hands up to her chest
because she had the thing attached to her
eyelids.
Yeah, she had the little teddy bear attached to her gun, which is funny enough because I'm thinking about Halo Infinite. You can customize your gun to have a little tchotchke attached to it.
I wonder if the teddy bear would show up. That would be an interesting callback.
What if they right now? That one I have is a blue team.
I don't have. I haven't touched the matchmaking at all, so all I have. I went through and put the I Love Bees stuff on everything I could.
Yeah, bees. Yeah, so that's a whole thing, and also Daisy. There's some. The other thing was the interesting one was like several of the Spartans escaped, and then some of them they got her her and another one back, but the other was they killed themselves after meeting their clones.
Yep.
So that's a whole thing there. Again, we can't really do it justice by talking about it. It's a really good one.
Yeah, it is really good.
And it's a really worth watching just because it really hits you. And I should also mention, by the way, we watch all these in English just because I feel we kind of felt with this one it was kind of like the intended language of this one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I do know of course Japanese dub and everything. But yeah, because it's an American property, I felt like the English dub was probably the better one to do with this case. And then we come to Odd One Out. By a little known company you may have heard of called Toei Animation.
You said when there was two production companies in the list that I only recognized, IG was one of them. This was the other.
It's like you did something. They worked on something. Let's see, what was it called? It's kind of obscure. Let's see, Dragon Ball.
Yeah, not certain if anyone would
One Piece, Sailor Moon.
Nah.
Did any of these ring a bell?
Nah. No one's watched those.
They've been around for a long time. They've done a lot of work. They of course also many times contracted out to American companies, including Transformers and G.I. Joe. And then they also did, that's another fun one. So is G.I. Joe an anime?
Oh.
Is Transformers an anime? Oh yeah, they also did Beast King Go Line, which many people know as Voltron.
Yep.
They've done a lot. Anyway, and right now some people would argue they're also kind of resting on their laurels a bit.
Mm.
But anyway, Odd One Out is the non-canon entry.
It's literally, as its title says, the Odd One Out.
Yeah, it's a parody. It's about Spartan 1337.
Yes.
133. Yeah, I get it.
Get it? It's lead.
Anyway, he crashes on a planet with dinosaurs and some kids pretending to be cavemen. It turns out it's a game of pretend. And there are also these teenagers who are unnaturally strong. And there's also this prototype brute guy who's like a bioweapon essentially. And he has to fight them. And it's kind of very DBZ-esque. It's very silly.
It's a parody.
It's very silly. It's very goofy. The lot thing the kids calling him a robot and I'm not a robot.
Robot.
And of course, Master Chief Cortana even talking about it. I was like, it's fine. He'll be fine. Probably.
It's not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, exactly. It's very goofy. Very the Covenant go called was Pluton. Yeah, it just wind up fighting him, and eventually this AI who's been taking care of these kids they call Mama somehow is able to shoot it away by more or less launching a escape pod at it.
Yeah,
launching out of the atmosphere.
It opened a slip space window and then shot an escape pod into it.
It's a very goofy thing. It's clearly you can see a lot of the Dragon Ball stuff in it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's a funny one to a degree.
Oh, it's hilarious, but don't take it seriously.
Yeah, it's a kind of funnier one. I feel like it's one of the ones I'm really way back in the day. A lot of the Halo fans really kind of latched onto just because it was the funny one. Yeah, so don't take it seriously. It's goofy. It's weird. It's got the epic bro fist.
Yep.
Which I've seen the gifs of a lot.
Yep.
A lot of weirdness on there. It's hard to talk about though, just because there's really not a whole lot to it.
Yeah, it's just a joke. It's
basically
joke.
It was a couple goofy jokes, a parody of a DBZ fight, and that's pretty much the end.
Yep.
So it's funny, yes, but it's also very stylistic, and a lot of it very much looks like Toriyama's art style. Though I don't think Toriyama actually worked on this one.
Yeah.
But it's a whole thing. So moving on to the next one, Prototype. Interesting one, done by Bones. Is where we've seen a couple of their things. Lots of things there.
When I hear Bones, I just think McCoy.
Yep. I'm a doctor, not an escalator. They've done some My Hero Academia, Carol and Tuesday, Skate the Infinity, Mob Psycho 102, or Mob Psycho in general. I think. Let's see, Space Dandy.
So far, things I know, but I haven't.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I haven't actually watched Brotherhood.
Yep, I haven't watched it either.
So a bunch of things that I know of, but have not actually watched.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. Just a lot of stuff in general. And if I recall, they're also one of the studios that straight up has figured out their whole, let's get rid of crunch thing.
Ah, neat.
Yeah, so they've done a lot of stuff. Anyway, they did Prototype, which is about a Marine who goes, I guess, by the name Ghost, and it opens up with him holding one of his soldiers in his arms as she's dying, and she's trying to plead with him, just remember to be human, right? And then we cut to some time later, and there's a whole UNSC base which is under attack by the Covenant, and they're evacuating because things have gone bad. And then they enact the Cole Protocol, which in the Halo universe, the Cole Protocol is the Covenant cannot know where Earth is, so we have to scrub any data or everything that could possibly lead them back to Earth.
Yep.
And on top of that, they also there's a prototype weapon there. They have to get rid of all data relating to that as well.
Yep.
And usually the guy goes out in the weapon to fight the Covenant, is yelled at for a bit, but he fights off the Covenant. Using this thing. Using this thing more or less fights off the Covenant long enough for most of everyone else to escape.
And then goes boom.
Yeah, before it self-destructs when he says the code phrase.
Be human.
Yeah, be human. Which, yeah, so it's a really cool thing because it's basically, let's turn Halo into a mecha.
Yep.
Essentially, because it's
basically, yeah.
It's a mecha thing. It kind of looks like an oversized Spartan, actually. When you look at it, which actually is a good idea because
it's a good idea.
It then gels with the rest of the universe.
Yep. Gel like the layer.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually interesting because this guy's kind of it kind of sets it up, but doesn't. The problem is it doesn't really do much with his whole thing with the whole be human.
Yeah.
But it visually looks really cool. At least you get the fight, him fighting everything, and slowly getting whittled away by their. The Covenant shooting at him. It's visually at least interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stuff. So he gets this big old thing that got a big old shoulder cannon and this arm-mounted Gatling gun thing, and so on and so forth, and thrusters and
yeah, a whole bunch of
It's basically a really cool fight scene thing. It's tries to do some emotional weight, and I don't think quite succeeds.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. It's like I can see what they're trying to do, but it didn't. That part just kind of didn't land.
Felt like there should have been just a little bit more to make that work.
Maybe
if there was just a little bit more spent on him, a little bit.
Honestly, they could go either way. Either more to fix it and make it a little better, or just get rid of it entirely and just focus more on the fight scene.
Yeah,
because that's the most interesting part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's scene, that one's kind of interesting visually, at least. It's got some cool bits, but it doesn't quite hit the emotional weight, particularly like Homecoming. Really hits pretty good with its emotional weight. Yeah. So the next one, the Babysitter, which is also Studio 4C.
Yep.
And this one is kind of interesting in a weird way. It's about a group of ODSTs who, in this orbital drop shock troopers, they drop from orbit in these pods, and it's really dangerous. And they're basically were the best of the best till the Spartans came along, and they're assigned to take out a Prophet via sniper rifle from miles away, but they're going to be going with a Spartan who's going to be the lead shooter, and one of the guys is on the ODST squad is a sniper, and he's upset because I'm the best. Why did they get to do the?
Why do I have to be the backup shooter?
Yeah, in which way there's a whole thing where they land in and they have to, they're walking through and they have the whole thing was like twice this whiny guy has to be saved by the Spartan and doesn't want to admit that I had it under control, so I'm fine. It's no big deal. It's, protecting his ego.
Yep.
And they're setting up and they fight some Covenant at one point, but though Brute was there and they knocked him off a cliff and it seemed like everything was fine, and then they're all set up and it turns out the Brute followed them and attacked, and the Spartan protected him one last time, and then he has to take the shot because the Spartan took a direct blow to the head from a Brute hammer, which is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
And the whole thing is also the reveal. Oh, the Spartan was actually a girl the whole time. Cal. Yeah. It's Cal, Ellen41. So he's Cal. It's in Callie. And yeah, because you see here Cal, and it's like, oh, we got Calvin or something, right?
It's like Calvin.
And everyone's referring with male pronouns. Nope.
Because
they don't know. Because, the other thing is Spartan just doesn't talk like the entire time until, helmet's off, and she tells him to take the shot. O'Brien tells O'Brien there to take the shot because he's the only one who can do it.
Yep.
And then she dies because, she's kind of not in great shape after that blow to the head. Yeah, so that's that whole thing. And there's a whole thing, there's a whole thing with the ODSTs and the backstory of Halo, which is like the ODSTs kind of early days resented Spartans because,
replaced.
Yeah, they felt replaced and everything. So there's that whole thing going on there. And that, because that they kind of now have a newfound respect for them.
At least that team does.
That team. As time goes on, by the time you get to the Halo games, it's what the Halo games are in the canon, the timeline. ODSTs are pretty much okay with Spartans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because things are getting really bad, and they'd rather have the Spartan up front.
Exactly. So this one is also kind of interesting. I mean, somewhat. I mean, the problem is O'Brien's just a little whiny little brat, essentially.
He is a little bit whiny.
But that's kind of the whole point. He's a whiny brat, but
so he can get shown up and learn the lesson.
He gets humbled and gets newfound respect and all that stuff. But so it's kind of interesting on that front, and the whole thing with the Spartan. This is also one I feel has some really rough animation.
Yeah.
Comparatively. Like a lot of weird things. Like there's that one shot where you kind of start laughing because this Spartan's head was tiny and this massive body and everything.
Yeah, when she picked up the drop pod out of the water. Yeah.
It looked kind of bad. There's definitely some roughness here on this one.
Yeah.
And also, they made the artistic license choice to, of course, give her big old long hair and
big flowing long hair. And of course, she comes beautiful out of the helmet's hammer space.
And she's also super beautiful and everything.
Yeah,
which is funny because compared that to again Homecoming, that one she's got shorter hair, which makes sense because usually when you have to have helmets like that, you're not going to have long hair.
Yeah, when you got to get the hair just kind of gets in the way.
Yeah, so it's cut short, but yeah, she has real long hair and she's super pale, which actually that lines up with canon. Because usually Spartans are you spend all your time in a suit of armor. You don't exactly get much sun on your skin. No sun. Yep. Yeah, so that's a whole thing there.
Yep. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. But again,
story wise, I did really like this one. I think I prefer Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
But this was I think with a few small exceptions,
like
one of
the animation.
Yeah. Well, there was like we mentioned the animation faults, but it is Studio 4C who did the Origins ones, and I like that style too. So I like the style, but there were some errors, so it's like kind of back and forth on that one here. But overall, I do think this one was
pretty good.
One of the pretty good ones.
Yeah. And yeah. So the final one is called The Package, and it was done by Casio Entertainment, and this one is also in CG. And this is about a blue team, essentially, from the Spartans going off and saving or retrieving a target from a Covenant fleet, and they have only so much time because Covenant is about to jump into slip space and all that stuff. It's Master Chief, John 117, and Frederick and Kelly and Arthur and Solomon. They all go in there and they're having to go on these what was called the boost platforms or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're going on there and they wind up. They fell for a ruse temporarily.
Booster frames.
Booster frames. Yeah, and then they get a couple of the Spartans die, and then they're having to get the target. It turns out it's Catherine Halsey, the one who created the Spartans, and they have to grab her because she's been captured by Covenant. And they fight, and there's a big old space battles, and then they save her, and 3 of them leave. This is the weird one because the story is incredibly threadbare because it's basically, it's just basically a simple rescue operation, and there's really no real. They try to do a thing with the elites, but it's not really that big of a deal.
It's really not.
And they did some weird stuff, like big one being Halsey is like super waifu'd.
Yeah.
Like in the canon here, she should be a middle-aged woman. At the very, she'd be 50s, possibly even 60s. I can't remember exactly.
They made her look like she was 20.
Yeah, she looks like she's
30.
like 25 years old.
Yeah.
And yep. And also she's wearing an outfit, which it's just kind of it's a weird thing. It's once again, artistic license.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the elites is the one like the elite admiral or whatever is like, kind of keeps admonishing this other like elite major, and he's like, oh, you're such a coward. He's like, I'm gonna prove myself, and he goes try to fight Master Chief 1-on-1, and then he gets taken away before he can actually do anything. It's weird.
It's weird.
And the other thing is, a lot of this dialogue is a lot of one-liners and cheese and just references to the Halo games.
Cheesy.
So it's one of those things. Is like, how much do you like cheese?
It's so cheesy. Oh, and the animation style. Cause you said it was CG, but it's just the animation style and the cinematography used in it just harkens back to that era, like cartoons, Western CG cartoons for kids. Even the dialogue, like you said, the one-liners and stuff, the dialogue, the writing, the cinematography. That's just it was so cheesy.
A little bit. It's kind of fun though.
It's a little fun, yeah.
It's kind of fun.
I was laughing through the whole way, but not. It's
kind of
humor.
It's in the sense of it's dumb fun. This is of all of them. This is the dumb one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty bad when you're considering Odd One Out.
Yeah. This is the dumb one.
Literal parody.
Yeah, it's kind of it's like it's just it's basically just action popcorn stuff. Don't think about it too much. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Just have fun, watch the cool action stuff because a lot of the action stuff is ridiculously over the top. It's kind of in that it's kind of in that it's so stupid but it's so cool way.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing. It's almost like in the sense like Metal Gear Rising or Devil May Cry, that sort of thing. It's ridiculously over the top, but it looks really cool. So you kind of forgive it because even though it's unrealistic nonsense,
it looks cool. But that's literally all it has going for it. Is it's fun, cool looking fluff.
Yeah, and also on top of that, there's that one thing you made you groan, which is they did the first-person camera thing.
Oh, they did. I think they did it a couple. Yeah, they did it a couple times.
They did it
it's just
like 3 times.
Every time I see that now, I cringe a bit because I immediately remember when they did it in the Doom movie.
Yep.
Just when he gets the Bioforce gun.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something that I'm not sure how much it's going to hurt you to hear.
It was probably going to hurt a lot.
Way back in the day when this released, this was widely regarded as the best one. The general consensus of the fandom was this is the best short.
Well, the general consensus of the fandom is often wrong.
Yeah, because
this is the Halo fan. It's a bunch of gamers.
Yeah, it's the package. Yeah, the package was off. I remember this. A lot of the discussions around Halo Legends where the package was the best one. I think it's because they just like, it's the action.
Yeah, it's got a ton of action and it looks really clean because of the CG style.
I know a lot of people who play, they don't want to think or anything. They just want to see cool explosions. Master Chief fights aliens.
Yeah.
You just want cool, spaceman shoot aliens.
Yep, that's all they want.
And that's delivered.
That's exactly what this is.
Cool spaceman.
No deep philosophical questions or...
Just dumb one-liners. Oh yeah, that was the ending was like, he was strong. I must be stronger.
Oh God, it's just so bad.
God, I love it just because it's one of those.
It's
God,
so bad.
And you love it deep down, dude.
So
there's a part
bad.
of you that loves it. You know it's bad, and a part of you loves it. Don't deny it. You kind of
love it a lot more than I do.
But yeah, it's one of those things. It's a lot of fun to watch, but it is kind of stupid.
Oh, it's so stupid.
Honestly, yeah, I think Homecoming is overall the best one.
Yeah, in terms of everything else combined, yeah, definitely.
Which I think that was a lot. That was the this Homecoming was one of the ones again. That was a lot of people were kind of tepid. It had a very tepid reaction. A lot of this had a tepid reaction.
Well, yeah, it brings up questions that some people might not want to think about.
A lot of people, I think one of the reasons Halo 4 got a lot of crap was because it brought up questions that were uncomfortable.
Yep. I'm all for that.
I think the Homecoming's great. Then let's see. From there, I would say the Babysitter, probably.
Babysitter was pretty good.
Second. I think probably Odd One Out, because that was kind of funny. I'll put the package just after that, more or less midpoint, just because it's stupid, but it's fun to watch. But then after that, you can kind of, and then like the dual prototype and Origins. I'll put almost Origins is kind of at the bottom just because it's kind of it's the bland one.
Yeah, I don't even know what to do with Origins because I like lore,
but it's all stuff we know.
But it is
personally.
also it looks cool, but it's because you and I were just kind of ripping through it because like they're not saying anything that either one of us don't already know.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like it just kind of is like it's a reminder.
Yeah, it's a well done reminder, but it's nothing new.
Yeah, so for me it's just fine. So that's why it's on the bottom. But yeah, the duel is kind of neat, but also it's a weird one.
It's tough to place and it's tough to see.
Yeah, for you.
For me,
it's like it is blurry. So remember that it's nothing's wrong with your TV. It is just blurry.
Do not adjust your television.
Yeah, it's just generally pretty. It's overall, I think, worth watching.
Overall, I do enjoy watching it.
Yeah, but again, because it's an anthology. It is uneven, like we were talking about. There's some weaker ones. The package is one of those, you may love it, you may hate it. It depends on what your mindset is. I think Homecoming is overall like the better one, but you also got the prototype has had potential, but kind of fell short. The Babysitter has a couple weird things. Babysitter is a generally decent story, but you may, depending on how you react to O'Brien, may color your reception.
Yeah.
Duel's visual interesting at least. Origins is kind of neat looking, but also bland. But if you're not super familiar with Halo, it might be much better for you.
Yep.
If you're really familiar with Halo, it might be
also you may, if you are more attuned to the waxing poetic style that Cortana goes through.
That too. But yeah, if you're more familiar with Halo lore, you might find yourself bored.
Yeah. I'm familiar, but I still like hearing about it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Some of the things she's saying, she's kind of waxing about, like, humanity constantly has to, constantly fighting, constantly fighting. All of a sudden, why does humanity have to
have an enemy?
Why does humanity need to have an enemy? That sort of thing. It's about 2 hours worth total. Each one, range. They got 10 to 20 minutes long each. Depending on which short you're watching. Pretty decent. It actually had a fairly positive reception overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you were just like, if you're a casual Halo fan, you might have a harder time with it. Particularly if you're in it just for shooting aliens.
If that's all you're in it for, you might enjoy the package, but...
Some of these were apparently, I remember the Halo Waypoint app?
Yes, I remember Waypoint.
Yeah, some of these premiered on that before that they released the full thing. Some of them, not all of them. Like, for example, Homecoming did not get on Halo Waypoint, but as for streaming, it's currently not any streaming service. You can buy it. You can probably still buy and find a physical copy, and I believe it's on Google Play for sale and rental, but it's not like on Netflix or any of those, so it's like...
Right.
I'm not sure if it was ever were these type of things. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, YouTube. Watch now from $1.99.
Oh, so YouTube has it.
Yeah, you can rent for $2.
The YouTube movies thing.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Rent HD to $3 or buy for $6. So it's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you want to watch that, that's pretty much the best way to do it. I don't know if you can get a physical copy. Let's see how much physical copies go for. Oh.
Cheap?
Kind of cheap, yeah, depending
on quality and where you find it.
DVD, Blu-ray. I'm seeing the Blu-ray from Right Stuff Anime, which I know about that store, for $16.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It looks like it's been repackaged a couple times too. Yeah. Yeah, it depends on. Yeah, I'm seeing someone trying to sell for $165 on eBay.
Wow.
But I'm seeing anywhere from $5 to $20 for the most part. But yeah, it's going to be probably used because it's out of print, I think. So yeah, yeah. If you're interested, yeah, it's cheap on YouTube.
Give it a shot. That's what I'd say. Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
If you're into the Halo,
if you're into
universe.
Halo at all, if you're in the Halo maybe. If you're not, I don't know. Maybe this might be your gateway. Who knows?
Maybe.
I think it works pretty well overall, and it was a fun time. And yeah, I think I appreciate it more now than I did the first time to watch it. I think the first time I watched it, I was kind of, I don't know. I think I
Things
checked
have
out.
changed between then and now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In 2010, I was a little prick.
That was probably the year. No, it was a couple years before things really started to change.
Yeah, but 2010, I was a prick.
Yeah. I could have been better.
It was great. I think it was fun and worth it. But yeah, I think that's it for this one.
Yep.
So hope you enjoyed this. You could check out, if you did, you can check out other episodes at newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. Past, future, present, all that stuff. Episodes will be coming out there. You can subscribe via the RSS feed, or you can go see the buttons at the top. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or it's, well, not button there, Amazon Podcasts. You can subscribe to any of those things and keep up with us as we release new episodes and whatnot. We'll talk about different things as time goes on, And of course, you can contact us via email, newtoweeaboo@gmail.com, if you have anime recommendations or questions or comments or whatever. Did you watch Halo Legends? Have you done it recently? What'd you think of it? I don't know. Were you bored with Origins just because you're also a lore nerd and you're just already, I know all this. Or what? I don't know. Maybe you had different opinions on a lot of stuff. Maybe there's some secret genius to the package that we're not aware of. I don't know. But yeah, here's that. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at newtoweeaboo, and follow us there and see new episodes come out and whatnot as time goes on. And there's, of course, our personal Twitters. I'm at Prime1, and he's at Alcatraz7 and 7T, and an underscore at the end. So check those out if you want. I am releasing reviews in a consistent manner again, thank goodness. I've been releasing, actually, most recently, you'll probably, if you've watched my channel, it's Ruby Nendos. Ruby, which we won't talk about on this podcast, probably.
Probably. That's a whole thing.
Is it an anime?
That's a whole thing.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it for this one.
Yep.
Check us out next time. We'll be kind of doing this again, except with an older version, which we brought up earlier, the Animatrix.
Woo! I've only seen bits and pieces.
No, the new Matrix movie, that's coming out.
Yeah!
So, yeah, it seems like a good time to do it, The Animatrix. So, yeah, it's very similar because you've only seen a little bit of it.
I've seen bits and pieces, and I understand the basic story.
The only thing is I have it on DVD, not Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's like a Origins sort of.
It's very much like this, which is it's an anthology of stories from the Matrix universe.
Yeah. I think some of it does explain the origins, but yeah.
There's definitely that stuff, and we'll talk about that, and I think it's kind of interesting what that one will be, I think.
Yeah.
So, tune in next time for that, if you like. And hope you take care of yourselves, all that stuff. Stay safe, mask up, vaccinate.
Yep.
If you haven't already, get your booster if you need to.
If you can, yep.
And that should be it. So, goodbye, guys.
See ya.